And welcome, sports fans, to today's Sports Roundtable right here on YHC TV and YHCTV.com. And glad you joined us. We're at the midway point of the regular season of high school football for Missouri, anyways. And a lot of games took place last night from throughout the area. And about this time, we're starting to feel out these teams, where they're going to kind of stack up in their respective conferences and come district play towards the end of the season. So we're basically being able to sort these teams based on their productivity with their teams, and also what they've brought to the field in the first 5 weeks of high school football. So we're going to talk about that in a moment. Also, we're going to touch on some high school volleyball, baseball, and softball results that took place earlier in the week. It's been very busy throughout the fall in the other sports as well. And we're also going to touch on some local football poll, our local SemoSportZone.com top 15 poll, and also we got some state rankings for high school football, and the first state poll for high school volleyball has been released for this week as well. So a lot to get to with that. And also we're going to talk about some big college football games this weekend, both the local level and the national level. And NFL has gotten underway for the first week and heading into the second week this weekend. We'll give you a preview of those matchups coming up this weekend as well. So very busy time from the amateur level at the high school all the way up to the professional ranks, especially with football at all three levels. Very popular is the football, not only at the high school but also to the college and professional ranks. So it's going to be very interesting for the remainder of this fall. So glad you joined us right here on Channel 21 on your new wave cable, even online at YHCTV.com and SemoSportZone.com. And we won't have any guests today. We usually have either Bub Baker or Trey Davis or both in with the studio today. They won't make it in from Harry Blackwell Ford and Dodge in Malden. And I'll talk about that later on in our segment about our presenting sponsor this year. And let's go ahead and take a look at those high school football games from last night. Taking a look at the game that we had right here on YHC last night. It was Caruthersville and Dexter, and a great game between those two teams. Hard fought throughout, and a very good game to bring to you right here on Channel 21. And taking a look at the score, 35-28, the final score in that one last night. And the Caruthersville Tigers just made a late score in that contest to take the lead, and basically ran out of time for the Dexter Bearcats to be able to put together a final offensive drive in that game. And we got some highlights of that we'll take a look at from Charles Bland Stadium last night. And just go ahead and hit play on that. There you go. And here we go. First play of the game from scrimmage. A nice run along the left sideline by Peyton Faulkner along the left sideline, and now they're driving. Roderick Jones with the handoff. He's going to go along the left side, cut it out to the outside, inside the 20, and a really nice opening drive for Caruthersville. They moved it right down the field. Peyton Faulkner drops the ball, picks it up, fires it onto the right side for the touchdown to make it 7-0. And now Ethan Stevens, the first drive for the Bearcats, gets a nice opening along the left sideline. He had a nice night rushing, I believe 154 yards on the ground for Ethan Stevens. And here a nice tackle as Ethan Stevens tried to get away. Now we got a fourth and long play here, a dump down to Austin Chesser, takes it into the end zone. Impressive play there, execution by the Bearcats for their first score. And see here the Bearcats toughening up on the front line, getting a nice tackle for loss. And now the Bearcats end up back with the ball, and Ethan Stevens breaks open for the touchdown, giving them the lead 14-7. And now we're into the second half, and the first few possessions for the Bearcats, they turn it over, and Caruthersville makes good for it as Slaughter there runs along the left side, almost gets to the end zone right here, but the next play is going to be a quarterback sneak, as we see here. Peyton Faulkner takes the quick snap into the end zone, ties it up at 14-all midway through the third quarter. And here another turnover by the Bearcats, overthrown by Stevens, looking for Chesser, picked off by Caruthersville. So two opening possessions in the third quarter turned over by the Bearcats. Proved costly as Caruthersville punched those in for touchdowns as they take the lead. Missed on the extra point attempt, so it's only a 5-point lead. A nice pass from Stevens there on the completion. And Stevens breaks away again in for the touchdown, and they get their extra point attempt. So they're up 2 here midway through the fourth quarter. Now Peyton Faulkner extends the play and down to the 1-yard line, and another quarterback sneak as Faulkner steps in for the touchdown, and they take a 27-21 lead, 6-point lead. And here's a big play by the Bearcats. Pass down the field, going to be taken. A nice run here, taken all the way inside the 5-yard line. And it's 1st and goal for the Bearcats. And they punch it in with a run up the middle. And go up 5 in this one. And they go up, and then here's Caruthersville going for 2 on their score. And the Bearcats here, very desperate in the last minute of the game. Stevens dragged down with a shoestring tackle. Now with 15 seconds remaining, Stevens going for the first down, trying to get out of bounds. Doesn't get out of bounds, and the time runs out just as he's trying to get out of bounds there to extend that final drive for the Bearcats. And just not enough time for the Bearcats to make that final drive. But very impressive game between those two last night. Caruthersville and Dexter. Caruthersville looked like they were almost on the verge of taking another 1-point loss. It was a 28-27 lead for the Bearcats late in that fourth quarter until Caruthersville put that nice drive together there late in the fourth quarter. And they've already had 2 1-point losses back-to-back weeks. Earlier this year, that's week 2 and 3. Week 2 and 3. And that was to Malden and Kennett. 2 weeks back-to-back with 1-point losses. So they almost had one last night, but they put a nice drive together late in the game, and they took some time off the clock, took their time, and didn't leave enough time for Dexter to make a legitimate drive in that last, I think it was under 2 minutes with that last drive there last night. But it was a very entertaining game. Dexter had a great start. Dexter's so far this season, they've struggled getting out to a good start. They got out to a good start last night, answered the first scoring drive of the Caruthersville Tigers, matched them, but it was that third quarter that really hurt them. Their 2 opening possessions in the third quarter turned it over, 1 a fumble, 1 an interception, and Caruthersville took advantage, took those turnovers in for touchdowns, and that was probably the difference, the start of that third quarter altogether, with Caruthersville taking advantage of those turnovers. So a great game between those two. We've seen some great games over the years between Caruthersville and Dexter. Seems like they match up well. And Caruthersville gets a nice win, nice conference win. So Caruthersville is probably second in those standings so far, as Kennett's on top there. But Dexter certainly needing a victory against Kennett later on in the year. Actually next week, next Friday night, Dexter travels to take on Kennett. And certainly need a victory there to have a share of that conference. See, I think it's the Seymour Central Conference. It's going to be, it's Dexter, Kennett, Caruthersville, and Charleston. I believe it's in that conference, if I'm not mistaken. And Dexter will need to go and travel, get a win against Kennett to have a share of that conference title, which Kennett defeated Caruthersville. Kennett gets a victory over Dexter, they'll likely come away with that conference title. But a great game last night. Catch that replay today. That's Saturday at noon, and Sunday at 4. Catch the replay of that Caruthersville and Dexter game this weekend. So Saturday at noon, which is today at noon, and Sunday at 4, the replay of Caruthersville and Dexter. And let's take a look at some other games from the area last night. We'll go down to Northeast Arkansas in that Clay County shootout, and the Piggott and Rector matches up once. I think this is the first time in about 8 years, I believe, they matched up against each other. And Piggott defeated Rector in that Clay County shootout last night, 28-12. Piggott extends their undefeated record to 3-0. Impressive start for the Piggott Mohawks so far this year, and they've gotten off to a great start this year under Michael Harrell. And let's move on to some other games, and a game that we're going to televise this week, starting this weekend. Hayti and Portageville. Hayti getting that victory over Portageville, 33-27, and it was a shootout for Hayti early on. I believe it was a I think that was a 33-6 game to start. I might be wrong on that, but I think it was a 33-6 game at halftime. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Hayti scored in the second half. Portageville made a nice comeback and come up just a bit short. Couldn't convert a 4th and 5 late in that game to extend that drive to potentially score and take the lead. And Hayti held on there in the end over Portageville. And that's always a great matchup between those two schools. Just a few miles apart there, Hayti and Portageville. And it's always a good matchup between those two small schools in high school football. So Hayti getting that victory and moving on. And Hayti's got a very successful year. It seems like preseason we didn't expect a whole lot out of the Indians this year. They've struggled over the last few years. They've really put a fine season together so far this year. I think they've only got one loss, and that came in week 1 to Thayer, if I can remember back to week 1. So I think they're 4-1 so far in this season. So Hayti Indians looking really good early on. And you can catch that game, Hayti and Portageville, this weekend, and that will be Sunday at 7 and Tuesday at 6:30. Sunday at 7 and Tuesday at 6:30 for Hayti and Portageville. So look forward to that replay right here on Channel 21. We'll get both of those games uploaded to yhctv.com and SemoSportZone.com probably Sunday as well. So look forward to those. And take a look at the other games from last night. Kennett with a big victory over Greene County Tech of Arkansas, 60-27, and the Kennett Indians roll to another victory, extending their undefeated record to 5-0 on the year. And Greene County Tech's no slouch there in Northeast Arkansas. Kennett's really taken some beatings from Greene County Tech over the years. I don't know if they've played the past 2 years. I know they played last year and took a pretty big loss to Greene County Tech last year. But I tell you, this is a totally different Kennett Indian football program, undefeated at 5-0 for this season. And boy, they really turned it on through probably 2/3 of the way through the season last year. Edward Wilson went to quarterback, and it's just totally turned that season around there in Kennett. And he's done a great job, and just the whole Kennett Indian football team. Aaron and Arlen Pixley heading up that program, totally turning around the culture there, and got an undefeated season, looking good. And they got the Dexter Bearcats. Always a great matchup between those two, and certainly with the dynamic of Aaron Pixley with the Indians and his former team, the Dexter Bearcats. He's gone 0-2 so far against the Bearcats, and they're certainly going to be the favorites next Friday night down in Kennett as the Bearcats travel to take on the Kennett Indians next Friday night. We will carry that game live from Kennett next Friday night at 7 right here on YHC, YHCTV.com and SemoSportZone.com. And the other games from last night, Jackson over Poplar Bluff in a shootout, 50-48. Jackson getting the victory over Poplar Bluff, and Jackson's looked vulnerable this year, opening up with some early losses. I think they finally got their first win last week and got a pretty impressive victory over Poplar Bluff, 50-48. That's important come district tournament time. They share that same district in Class 5 District 1, so they'll at least have the head-to-head winner over Poplar Bluff in that district. So Jackson getting a nice victory last night over Poplar Bluff. And looking ahead to next week, Jackson takes on their local rival, Cape Central. That'll be a nice matchup, as it always is. We'll be looking forward to that next week. And taking a look at some other games, Malden over East Prairie, sizable 38-20. Malden extends its undefeated record to 5-0 with that victory over East Prairie last night. So an impressive victory for the Green Machine as it continues to roll once again so far this year. And another game, Scott City over Chaffee by 2 touchdowns, 28-14. Scott City looking good so far this year. I think they've only got about 1 or 2 losses. They took a big loss last week, but looking good once again this week over Chaffee. And also we've got Sykeston over Farmington, 28-14. Sykeston extends its undefeated record to 5-0 with that win last night. They're looking good so far once again this year. Actually had a little down year last year and they've answered back with a nice season so far, undefeated 5-0 so far this year. And another games from last night, New Madrid County Central over Charleston, two winless teams going at it. Figured this would have been a little closer game. I think this would have been a good matchup between those two, but Charleston just really struggling this year, even to the winless New Madrid County Central Eagles. And New Madrid finally getting that first win of the year, and in a rout, 48-14 over the Charleston Blue Jays. And in other games, Ladue over Cape Central in a close one, 38-35. Well, Cape Central's had some close games this year. Just haven't been able to get those close victories so far this year. So, or I wouldn't say they got a few close victories, but they've had some nail biters that they've let get away so far early on this year. But they take a loss to Ladue last night, 38-35. And those are the high school football results from last night. And we're already halfway through the season, folks. It's only a 9-game regular season. And everyone's guaranteed that first game of district play there with the 10th week and 8-team district tournaments there. So we're halfway through the season for most teams. And it's going by quick, but it's been fun. We've seen some great early season matchups. You want to see even some better matchups next week. Really looking forward to some games next week. Between Dexter and Kennett. That'll be a good one. And also Jackson and Cape Central go at it next week. So we got some big matchups to look forward to next week. And start talking to this second half of the season. You're going to see some of these district tournaments start to seed themselves after some big games early on. And these head-to-head matchups are big because anytime there's a I believe if you're right next to each other, if you're, say, first and second in the standings, even if there's a point differential, there's a point system with our district tournaments now in Missouri. If there's a point system and you're 1 and 2, even if you've got less points at number 2, you actually jump to number 1 if you've won that head-to-head. So the point system actually doesn't come into play if you're 1 and 2 or just consecutive seeds in the standings. If you got that head-to-head victory, you actually take the higher standing in those district standings. So it's a pretty important head-to-head matchup, and we can probably, after this week, is looking into the second half of the season, start looking at these district standings and see where they're going to match up come district time. So it's going to be very interesting to watch the rest of the way how these districts will start lining up. And let's take a look at some other fall sports that took place earlier this week. Let's take a look at some Friday results from the area. Taking a look at some high school volleyball results from earlier this week. And let's take a look at some Stoddard County games. Actually, these are the rankings. If we'll go to the end of the I guess we're having trouble finding those. Should be right on the end of the football results, I believe. Okay, we don't. Okay, here we go. High school volleyball results: Dexter over Bell City in the Stoddard County Conference, 25-7 and 25-9, getting 2 straight sets over the Bell City Lady Cubs. And Dexter looking really good in high school volleyball so far this year, looking like the top team in Stoddard County, as it's a very competitive Stoddard County Conference this year, and they look to be on top of it so far this season. And Bernie defeating Puxico in 2 sets, 25-13 and 25-10. Also, Poplar Bluff defeating Kennett in 3 sets, losing the first 20-25, winning the next 2 25-17 and 25-11. Sykeston over Scott City in 2 sets, 25-11 and 25-18. And Woodland over Meadow Heights, 25-22 and 25-15. And Woodland looking really good this year as well in the Stoddard County. So, this Stoddard County Conference is about 5 teams deep with very competitive teams. You got Dexter, Bernie, I believe it's Bloomfield, Woodland, and Advance is actually pretty competitive this year. So a very competitive Stoddard County Conference in high school volleyball this season. And take a look at some other scores, other sports. Take a look at high school, I believe it's baseball we've got next. And boys high school baseball, Bernie extends its undefeated season to actually they get the victory over Puck School to extend their undefeated season 6-2. And they've got a baseball tournament coming up, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And looks like they got a good chance of going undefeated in their fall baseball season. So Bernie's looking really good early on this fall. And in other games, Greenville over Naylor in a shutout 17-0. Oran over Leopold in a shutout 13-0. And Zenith Hornersville big in a rout over North Pemiscot 28-4. Those are your high school baseball results from Friday. And now let's take a look at some girls high school softball results from Friday as Portageville gets a shutout victory over Kelly 8-0. And that's a big matchup as I believe those two are pretty much favored in the district. In the softball district, and Portageville defeated Kelly in the district last year and looking really good so far again this year, looking to make another run at that state Final Four in high school softball. Chaffee defeated Sykeston by a score of 10-1. Poplar Bluff over East Carter County, and I believe that was 11-1. Missing a 1 there on Poplar Bluff and East Carter County. And Notre Dame defeating Jackson 4-2. And those are your high school softball results from Friday. And we want to end our first segment by giving a big shout out to our presenting sponsor for the Sports Roundtable season this year is Harry Blackwell Ford and Dodge in Malden. And we appreciate Harry Blackwell in Malden with the Ford and Dodge store there. Dealerships bringing this year's Sports Roundtable season. If you've watched for the season so far this year, we've had Trey Davis and Bub Baker in with us for each show. Actually, today's the first show we haven't had either one of those guys in, and they're coming in and providing some sports talk for the area as well as the deals going on at Harry Blackwell Ford and Dodge in Malden. And we appreciate them bringing our Sports Roundtable season, also being a major sports sponsor for our sports broadcast this year with football and basketball. And they've been on talking about this back of dealer pricing sale that's been going on through most of August, actually all of August, and they're actually extending that through September. A great sale going on there at Harry Blackwell Ford in Malden, and it's a great deal going on there, going all the way through the end of September. You receive the rebates from Ford, but on top of that, you get the Harry Blackwell rebates, and you can get on some vehicles over $10,000 off the sticker price on this back of dealer pricing sale from Harry Blackwell Ford in Malden. And these aren't closeouts either; these are brand new on the line models. On some models over $10,000 off the sticker price, and it's going on through September at Harry Blackwell Ford in Malden. And we appreciate Harry Blackwell Ford and Dodge in Malden to help bring you the Sports Roundtable this season. So be sure to stop by Harry Blackwell Ford for the great deals going on through September with the back of dealer pricing sale in Malden. So be sure and stop by and see Bub Baker and Trey Davis there in Malden. So I appreciate those guys coming up and helping us out with the roundtable each Saturday. And we're going to take a break and be back with more coming up.
It's back again at Harry Blackwell Ford in Malden. We are selling all new Ford cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs in inventory back of dealer pricing. For example, 2015 F-250 Crew Cab Diesel. Window sticker, $63,000. Back of dealer pricing, $52,900. You won't beat these prices anywhere. Shop Harry Blackwell Ford in Malden. You'll be glad you did.
This is the next big thing.
NFL Red Zone, the channel that brings you every touchdown from every game on Sunday afternoons. Watch the most exciting moments like never before, live in HD. Every touchdown from every game, live on one channel, NFL Red Zone.
Introducing New Wave Wi-Fi at home. Now you can stay connected to the web and not the wall. One connection connects multiple computers, so you can surf the internet from any room in your home with no wires, no worries, and no limits to what you can do. Everything is included. One simple call is all it takes. Connect everyone, everywhere, with New Wave Wi-Fi at home.
Wireless modem service now included with every bundle package. Call 1-888-8-NEW.
And welcome back to the Sports Roundtable. Now we're going to take a look at some state rankings for high school football. Actually, before we get to state rankings, I want to go to the SEMO Sports Zone Top 15 poll for Southeast Missouri football coming into this week. Will not reflect last night's games. So let's take a look at the poll coming into this week for SEMOSportsZone.com Top 15 poll. And Park Hill Central on top at number 1, as they have been for 2 weeks now, undefeated at 4-0 atop there of these top 15 poll. Number 2, Valley Catholic, and they are the class of Class 1 in high school football, not only for southeast region of Missouri, but for the state of Missouri. They are certainly the class of Class 1 in high school football for Missouri, 4-0, and I think they got a victory last night as well. So Valley Catholic looking good once again this year. Sykeston moves up to number 3 with a 4-0 record coming into this week. Got a victory last night. 4, Cape Central, they slip a bit with a few losses, and might just slip a bit more after their loss last night coming into this next week, but they were 4 coming into this week. Is Cape Central. 5, the Malden Green Wave moving up to that top 5 in the top 15 poll for Southeast Missouri, and extend their record to 5-0 last night. The Kennet Indians right there behind them, sharing Dunklin County as they go to 5-0, and be looking forward to that matchup later on in the year, Malden and Kennet, that Dunklin County championship later on in the year. And Poplar Bluff with a record of 3-1, took the loss to Jackson last night. They're at 3-2 on the year now, and they might slip just a bit since right behind them is Jackson, which they'll likely move up with that victory over Poplar Bluff head-to-head. Jackson there at number 8. 9, St. Genevieve. 10, Hayti. Hayti's into that top 10, looking really good, and go to 4-1 on the year after that victory last night. 11, Farmington. And to number 12, East Prairie. 13, Caruthersville. 14, Perryville. And 15, the Portageville Bulldogs. And that's your SEMOSportZone.com top 15 poll for this week, and again does not reflect last night's games. And we had some nice matchups there, probably going to shift around that poll just a bit for this next week. And now let's take a look at the state rankings for high school football for the state of Missouri coming into this week. Valley Catholic undefeated at number 1. 2, Marionville. 3, Skyline. 4, Marceline. 5, Lockwood. 6, Mark Twain. 7, Lincoln. 8, Wellington Napoleon. 9, South Shelby. And 10, Cass Midway, making up the Class 1 rankings for this week. Taking a look at Class 2. Got Lamar. It's been on top for a handful of years now. They're at number 1. 2, East Buchanan. 3, Palmyra. 4, Lafayette County. 5, Brookfield. 6, Herman. 7, the Malden Green Wave. I think they moved up a bit in that poll. I think they were at 9 earlier in the year, moving up to number 7. Number 8, Mountain View Liberty. 9, Brentwood. And 10, Cardinal Ritter. Moving up to Class 3 in high school football. Number 1, John Burroughs. 2, Oak Grove. 3, Maryville. 4, Blair Oaks. 5, Mountain Grove. 6, Park Hill Central. 7, Manette. 8, Reed Spring. 9, Hogan Prep Academy. And 10, Centralia. So Park Hill Central in the past few weeks moved into that top 10 poll up to number 6. And in Class 4, at number 1, Webb City. Been up there for the better half of the decade at number 1 in Class 4. 2, Carl Junction. 3, Westminster Academy. 4, Harrisonville. 5, Platte County. 6, Kearney. 7, West Plains. 8, Afton. 9, Hannibal. And 10, University City. And moving on to Class 5. Fort Osage at number 1. 2, Battle. 3, Staley. 4 is Fort Zumwalt North. 5 Park Hill, 6 Nixa, 7 Chaminade, 8 Pattonville, and 9 Carthage, and 10 Rockwood Summit. And those are your state rankings for the state of Missouri this week, or coming into this week. So not a whole lot of Southeast Missouri teams in there. You see Malden, Park Hill Central. That's pretty much it for Southeast Missouri. So, used to might just see Hayti slip in there before the season's up. They're in Class 1, so we'll see what happens with those state rankings going forward. Did see East Prairie leak into that top 10 last week in Class 2, but a big loss last week. I believe that was to Hayti last week, if I'm not mistaken. Bumps them out of that top 10 for this week. And let's take a look at the first poll for volleyball state rankings. They were released earlier this week. And St. Vincent on top at number 1 in Class 1, 2 Santa Fe, 3 Winona, 4 Osceola, 5 New Haven, 6 School of the Ozarks, 7 Green Ridge, 8 Bismarck, 9 Lesterville, and 10 Bernie. The Bernie Mules opening up in that top 10 in Class 1 for Missouri high school volleyball. And in Class 2, let's take a look. Mountain View Liberty at number 1, 2 Stratford, 3 Lutheran St. Charles, 4 Jefferson, 5 Valley Catholic, 6 Bishop LeBlond, 7 Woodland, 8 St. Paul Lutheran, 9 Herman, and 10 Fatima. And Woodland cracking that top 10 for the Stoddard County. So that's 2 Stoddard County teams in Class 1 and 2 in the state rankings for high school volleyball, at least in the first poll so far this year. And in Class 3, looking at Helias Catholic out of Jefferson City at number 1, 2 St. Pius out of Festus, 3 St. Francis Borgia, 4 Bishop DeBoer, 5 Villa Duchesne, 6 Pleasant Hill, 7 Lutheran South, 8 Duchesne, 9 Mount Vernon, and 10 Dexter. The Dexter Lady Bearcats cracking the top 10 poll for Class 3. So that's 3 Stoddard County schools, Class 1 through 3, in that top 10 in high school volleyball for the state rankings. And take a look at Class 4. Blue Springs on top at number 1, 2 Nixa, 3 St. Joseph Academy, 4 Lee Summit North, 5 Lafayette of St. Louis, 6 Coruscant Academy, 7 Glendale, 8 Ozark, 9 St. Teresa Academy, and 10 Francis Howell and Oak Park, sharing the 10th ranking of Class 4. And those are your volleyball state rankings for the first week of that poll being released. So some very impressive teams early on so far in the season, especially in the Stoddard County Conference. As I mentioned, they're in the top 3, or the classes 1 through 3. You got Bernie in Class 1, Woodland in Class 2, and Dexter in Class 3, cracking that top 10 for the first poll. So very impressive starts for those schools in the Stoddard County. Just look at that Stoddard County tournament this year with those 3 teams, and you add in the mix of Bloomfield and Advance that have got some pretty competitive teams as well. It's going to be a very competitive Stoddard County Conference tournament later on this season. And we're going to take one more break, and we're going to talk about some the Bernie baseball showdown, fall baseball showdown starting this next week, and also we're going to talk about some college and pro football games taking place this weekend. So we'll be back with that coming up.
What is your emergency? Need assistance at County Road 61 and Highway 9. Help is on its way.
Clear! There's a better way to jumpstart your soil back to health. Apply Endzone to protect and increase nitrogen efficiency without killing bacteria. Apply Prevent to increase phosphorus availability and reduce fixation. Better yet, use them both to get more from your fertilizer investment and see higher potential yields. Ag Explorer, your prescription for healthy soil.
The competitive edge. It's the edge that sets you apart from your competition. Every business needs it. Now every business can get it. Partner with Advanced Business Solutions and give your business the competitive edge.
All right, now let's take a look at the Fall Baseball Showdown taking place in Bernie this week. And I believe this wraps up the season for Bernie and probably some of these other schools as well for the fall baseball season. I might be mistaken on that, but I think this wraps up the season there in Bernie. But let's take a look at that tournament there in Bernie. As Bernie's the top seed, they'll take on Neelyville, the 8th seed, and I believe this gets underway the 28th. So we still got another week after this next week. So the week after next, or actually it's next Saturday. It starts next Saturday. They're in Bernie on the 28th. I believe that starts on a Saturday. And today's the 19th. So actually it doesn't start on Saturday. Maybe I'll have to look at that. But either way, Bernie and Neelyville takes on the first day. Cooter takes on Bloomfield. Bell City takes on Puxico, and South Penobscot takes on Campbell in the first round. And that's the 28th through the 3rd. September 28th through October 3rd. And on the 28th, those games start at 10 a.m. on the 28th. That's Bernie and Neelyville starting at 10. Then it's Cooter and Bloomfield at noon at 12. Bell City and Puxico at 2. And South Penobscot and Campbell at 4 there on the 28th, and that'll end up with the championship on October 3rd. So look forward to that Bernie Fall Baseball Showdown to conclude this fall baseball season. So it's been a fun baseball season so far this fall. We've had Trey Davis and Bub Baker come in, and really they're Bernie guys, so they're coming in talking a lot about Bernie and that baseball team, undefeated so far this fall season. So we'll see how it wraps up there with that baseball showdown in Bernie starting on the 28th. So Bernie's had a great fall baseball season. They had a great spring, bring a lot of kids back. They've done great in the fall, which fall is just exhibition play. There's no district tournaments or anything like that. That's in the spring for Missouri baseball. So they've had a great fall season. Looking forward to a great spring come district time, sanctioned district time for the spring season. And I know we got some football fans out there looking forward to the college and professional games this weekend. Let's take a look at some big college football matchups taking place this weekend. 19th ranked BYU at 10th ranked UCLA. Also UConn at 22nd ranked Missouri later on today. Missouri should get that victory over UConn. Tulsa at 16th ranked Oklahoma. In-state game there between Tulsa and Oklahoma. Air Force at 4th ranked Michigan State. 18th ranked Auburn at 13th ranked LSU. That's a big SEC matchup taking place today. One of the bigger ones, as we'll get to the later one. Should be a good matchup between Auburn and LSU later on today. Northern Illinois at top ranked Ohio State. Nice cupcake there for the defending national champion Buckeyes. 14th ranked Georgia Tech at 8th ranked Notre Dame. South Carolina at 7th ranked Georgia in the SEC. And another big SEC matchup taking place today. 15th ranked Ole Miss at 2nd ranked Alabama. Too bad Trey Davis isn't with us today. Give us a nice preview of that Ole Miss and Alabama game. He's leading that Alabama I wouldn't say bandwagon. I'll just say fan group. How about that? Being an Alabama fan from Missouri. Wish he was in here today to talk about that game, Ole Miss and Alabama, later on today. And local schools, universities, Missouri State's at Arkansas State. Arkansas State looking to bounce back from that loss to Missouri last week. And I believe they only lost by 1 touchdown, I believe, in that game with Mizzou. A great opportunity for Arkansas State, bringing Mizzou to Jonesboro, and made it very competitive. Actually had a lead in some of that game, and just a great opportunity for the Red Wolves last week, and they lived up to it, playing very competitively with the Mizzou Tigers there in Jonesboro. And also Southeast Missouri State at Indiana State. Southeast Missouri's on the road taking on the Sycamores of Indiana State later on today. That's a 2:05 start there at Indiana State. And those are the college football games taking place today. Looking ahead to pro football starting this Sunday. The 49ers at the Steelers. Nice matchup there between NFC and AFC. Buccaneers at the Saints in the NFC South. The Arizona Cardinals at the Chicago Bears in the NFC. And here's a big game, probably the game of the week. I don't know about game of the week, but probably the game of the afternoon for tomorrow for certain. The New England Patriots at the New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills. That's an AFC East matchup, and it's going to be one to look forward to. That's a noon start there, or here local time, with the Patriots and the Bills. And the Bills now headed up by Rex Ryan. He always gets the Patriots fits, as he has with the Jets. And probably with a better team with the Bills this year, as he moved on from the Jets, fired from the Jets, picked up by the Bills there in the AFC East. Should be a great matchup between those two. And always a big game when it's Bill Belichick versus Rex Ryan. It's going to be a great matchup. Looking forward to that tomorrow afternoon. And other games, Chargers versus the Bengals in the AFC. The Titans taking on the Browns in Cleveland. The Falcons at the Giants in the NFC. The Rams at the Redskins. The Rams looking to build upon that win against the Seahawks last week. Got a road game against the Washington Redskins for tomorrow. And also the Ravens at the Raiders in the AFC. And Sunday Night Football, the Cowboys at the Eagles. A nice NFC East matchup. Should be a good one. I think the division is going to come down to these two teams. And Cowboys having a late game comeback and drive to defeat the New York Giants. So they've already got an NFC East win in Week 1. Looking for Week 2 on the road. It's going to be a tough one. The Eagles took a loss in Monday Night Football last week to the Falcons. And we'll see if they can get off to a better start against the Cowboys Sunday night. Should be a good one between the Cowboys and the Eagles Sunday night on NBC. And then Monday Night Football, big matchup. Seahawks and the Packers, a rematch of the NFC Championship last year. The Seahawks desperately need a win as they took a loss to the Rams in their own division last week in St. Louis. Packers got a road win against the Bears, and they're looking really good early on. And the Packers really can do themselves some good if they defeat the Seahawks. And actually, this was the Week 1 opener last year on Thursday night, as the Seahawks dominated the Packers in Week 1 and beat them again on their home field in the NFC Championship game in a pretty dramatic fashion, as they had to come back late in that game. And the Packers going to have them on their home field for Week 2 now, Monday Night Football. We'll see what happens in that championship rematch Monday night on ESPN. And Week 2 got underway with Thursday Night Football on CBS and the NFL Network. The Denver Broncos defeated the Kansas City Chiefs in dramatic fashion. They were down 7 late, and Peyton Manning and the Broncos made a 2-minute, went their 2-minute drill, got a touchdown with about 37 seconds left in the game, tied it up at 24, and Kansas City, not with a whole lot of time there to make a last drive. I think they only had one timeout remaining with 37 seconds, and did a little handoff to Jamal Charles. He had a great game rushing the ball, over 100 yards rushing. I think around 120 some odd yards for Jamal Charles. He took a handoff, maybe trying to bust a play. That's what Coach Andy Reid was looking for. In the press conference, he said he wanted to hand it off to Jamal Charles. Maybe he could get a big run, and as he had a few in the game, and got tackled. Brandon Marshall, the Broncos, just went in for a simple tackle. Jamal Charles didn't have both hands on it, had only one, and he was going down already. I believe it was Darian Stewart, the safety, come down, put a hit on Charles. He was going down, and Marshall was just basically covering him up to take him to the ground, and just one of his hands, as he was going to wrap him up, just hit the ball perfectly and bounced out. And Bradley Roby, the nickelback for the Broncos, was coming towards the line of scrimmage, and the ball just happened to be right there. He scooped it up and dodged Alex Smith's tackle into the end zone to give the Broncos the go-ahead score, 31-24. And with less time remaining, the Chiefs couldn't do anything at that point, and that was the game, 31-24. Broncos defeated the Kansas City Chiefs there in Kansas City, and everybody, a lot of the analysts, pundits were picking the Chiefs. They're finally going to beat the Broncos after seeing Peyton Manning struggle in Week 1 with the Ravens throwing the ball, and the Broncos couldn't rush the ball either in that Week 2 game with Kansas City. Oh, this is the time. This is the time. The Chiefs were healthy on the defensive side of the ball, and they did. They dominated the offensive line of the Broncos. I think they had 3 sacks and had a lot of hits on Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning got him off his spot, especially in the first half. Manning was lining up under center, dropping back, getting sacked quite a few times. And then after he threw a pick 6 in that game, and after that went more to the shotgun, spread it out, had a lot more time to get rid of the ball, and that's when he shined really throughout that. After that pick 6 late in the second half, and we'll see what happens. But the Broncos in that division on the Chiefs. We'll see what the Chargers do. They're also in that AFC West, but crazy game Thursday night in the NFL. So we'll see what happens this weekend. Some big matchups taking place. Looking forward to it Sunday and Monday. And that's pretty much all that we got to report for the roundtable for today. We got some big games next week. High school football, Jackson Cape Central. We got some big games we're looking forward to next week. I think we're down in down in Kennett for Dexter and Kennett. That live broadcast Friday night at 7. I believe we're also down in Piggott. I think we got a Piggott broadcast next week. Don't exactly sure who their opponent is. But we got those broadcasts next week, and look forward to this weekend. Starting this weekend, the broadcast we had for last night, the live broadcast of Caruthersville and Dexter will replay today. It's Saturday at noon, and also Sunday at 4. Saturday at noon and Sunday at 4 for Caruthersville and Dexter, and also the delayed broadcast from last night, Hayti and Portageville. That's Sunday at 7 and Tuesday at 6:30. For Hayti and Portageville. So look forward to that as well. We should get those games uploaded to YHCTV.com and SeamoreSportsZone.com by this Sunday. So look forward to those matchups being broadcast starting this weekend. And that'll do it for us today. We appreciate you for tuning in as always. I'm Tyler Wagner. And before we go, I want to mention our major sponsors for this year, bringing our sports season. We've mentioned Harry Blackwell Ford and Dodge, our presenting sponsor of the Roundtable season. Appreciate them. And also we've got Ag Explorer International out of Parma. Appreciate them coming on board once again this year. We've got Boot Hill Area Independent Living Services, serving much of the Boot Hill in southeast Missouri with their services. Appreciate them coming on board. Also, we've got First Midwest Bank here in Dexter. Appreciate them once again this year coming on for the major sports sponsorship this season. So appreciate our sponsors helping us out this year, and appreciate you for tuning in for all of our broadcasts and each Saturday right here on the Roundtable. And look forward to seeing you next week right here on the Roundtable once again. Until then, I'm Tyler Wagner for Andrew Moore, helping us out with the Control Room production. See you next week. Take care, everyone.